Hello and welcome to Progressive Palaver, a group of lifelong friends and appreciators of music discussing the greatest progressive rock bands album by album. I'm Joe Beauclair, and on this very special episode of Progressive Palaver, I'm joined by my very good friends Tom Corcoran and Ken Gregory as we have the opportunity to interview founding Yes member Tony Kaye. Welcome to a very special episode of Progressive Palaver, as we are joined by an icon of progressive rock. Our guest has performed with bands such as Badger, Detective, Circa, Yoso, and Badfinger, while also appearing on tracks with the likes of John Wetton and Murray Head. He's featured in the most recent episode of Shine On Hollywood magazine. He's a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, almost synonymous with the Hammond organ, and of course a founding member of Yes. We are honored to be speaking with Tony Kaye. Tony, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure, and that's quite a history. I don't know whether I can live up to that.
You certainly have, and before we got started, we were starting to get into the two shows that Ken and our other friend Paul and I saw with you performing with Yes in Philadelphia for the Yes 50 tour back in July. And, we did special episode podcasts about those shows in particular. And one of the things that we went into with that and, was the palpable increase in energy in the hall when you got on stage with the band. It was amazing. I loved it so much.
Really?
Yeah, it was palpable.
You felt that.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yes, we all did.
Yeah, well, I kind of felt it too, especially in Philadelphia. Philadelphia has a kind of special. We started there. That's how it all began, really, in the late '60s. So it has a special place in my heart, and it was just great. I mean, I felt the energy of the fans. The fans in Philadelphia. I mean, what can you say? I mean, it's definitely very, very special. So yeah, I mean, it was a special night. Although people had said up until that point, people had said that they felt that too. Maybe it's because I kind of started with the band, and and the band was playing so well, and it was great to come on at the end and play those old Yes tracks that that we started with. There was a lot of ingredient to that tour and that night.
Yeah, those were really, really special shows, and when that tour was announced, it was sort of a given that we here at the Palaver would attend, whatever shows were available in Philadelphia, just because that's where we come from. And we got a real bonus, obviously, getting two shows as well as the Fan Fest. So that was a very special time, and it was special to be able to participate in that with you. And like you said, I think we growing up in Philadelphia, I don't know if we at the time understood how special maybe Philadelphia is for progressive rock, but certainly me living here in Texas, I've come to appreciate that dramatically.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sure you've told the story, a gazillion times, but maybe how did it come about? Well, actually, I can probably guess how it came about that you were sort of invited to participate in the 50th anniversary of the band that you helped start.
Well, I really wasn't expecting it. I mean, it was really a complete surprise. Kind of followed the band, I followed both bands in a way. I'd been retired for such a long time. In that retirement, I had a band with Billy Sherwood, who, when Chris died, became in the band. So it wasn't like a complete, shock, really.
Right.
Because of the connection that I had. And of course, Jay, the new drummer for the band, who does most of the show, I have known Jay since he was 18. The surprise was I really hadn't seen Steve in 40 years.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know Jeff, and I hadn't seen Alan in a long time. So, the old guys that I played with and grew up with, and I hadn't seen in a long time. The new Jay, John, and Billy, I see all the time. Nevertheless, when I got the call from Steve, it was kind of a surprise. I didn't really know what to think, and thankfully they didn't want me to do the entire show, and happily, I could come and do those great Yes tracks from the old days.
So the call came from Steve. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
And Steve and I got on really well on the tour. He's such a gentleman, and he's so doing his thing. I mean, he really is, and of course the music. I mean, I was part of 9125 and Trevor and all of that. But even though I wasn't in the band in the 70s, that music, those albums, really resonate with me. I love that music, and that's what this Yes band plays. A combination of the 70s and the early stuff of the when we started. So 9125 was great. We had a great time. It was an amazing big tour and all the rest of it.
I heard it was kind of big. There was some kind of, I don't know, some concert video or something. I don't know.
It was a special time, and the band was digging it. It was great. Trevor's great. John was having a great time. It was just a very special time, and of course, it was an album that was for the 80s, and we wore ridiculous clothes, and it was the.
Let's talk about that for just a second, because that's something I've always kind of wondered. I mean, were you sort of wardrobed for that, or was that just what you guys picked out for yourselves? I mean, because there seemed to be sort of themes around the whole thing.
There were themes, yeah.
Okay.
Trevor was in leather, and John was I don't know what you could say about John.
He was in white.
But unfortunately, exactly. Unfortunately, for me, as witnessed with the video, which I think you were referring to, 912 Live.
Yeah.
It was 2 very, very hot nights of recording the show and videotaping the show, and I wore something that I thought was going to be something that was not going to be too hot. Previously, in other shows, I wore these beautiful Western Texas suits and cowboy boots, and looked great. But no, I had to wear ridiculous clothes on the 2 nights we shot the show, and still regret it.
It was the 80s. I think you just have to embrace it, because it captures perfectly what it was.
I don't think it could have been another way. I think if I'd been in my Texas cowboy look, it probably wouldn't have been the same. But it looks horrible.
I don't think it's the worst look on that particular film, so we'll just go with that.
Well, we won't go into that.
Exactly. Now, forgive me, guys, if you guys want to jump in here. I'm just kind of rolling with this. On our podcast, we have spent vast amounts of time, perhaps too much amount of time, certainly dissecting 90125 and Big Generator. One of the themes that we sort of came across from 90125 is this idea of collaborative songwriting and an Owner of a Lonely Heart. We spent 30 minutes talking about that song alone, and where it wound up versus where it came from. And you're credited with first songwriting credits on a couple of important tracks on Big Generator as well. Can you maybe, talk to us a little bit about that collaborative process for those albums and how that particular group approached that?
Well, yeah, I mean, there are different stories. Trevor Horn has a different take on Owner of a Lonely Heart, and what really happened. But you can't get into the 90125 thing and discount what Trevor did.
Oh, sure.
He was really the songwriter, and but the process of leading up to recording that album was 9 months in a rehearsal studio, going through all kinds of different things, but basically it was. By the time we got into the studio, we had thrashed out most of, except Owner of a Lonely Heart, and I think probably Leave It. Both of those songs were studio songs. The rest of the album we had played in a rehearsal studio, and there was a lot of contributions from Alan and Chris and myself. Trevor really was the instigator of most of those songs. Owner of a Lonely Heart was actually something that I found on a cassette. Basically, it was just the guitar riff, which was the main thing about the song. And of course, it developed in that sort of 80s Trevor Horn way that you couldn't reproduce, or you couldn't produce at another time. It was, he was recording ABC and Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Grace Jones, and it was a time in London that actually that song could only have come out of that, and it was the beginnings of that drum machine 80s thing. But yeah. Where were we on that question?
That was wonderful, Tony. This is Ken in Philly. That was wonderful because anyone who is a Yes devotee has, set aside 10 minutes on the web to fire up that video with Trevor Horn talking about the creation. And you were there for 90215 in Owner of a Lonely Heart. And you were a substantial contributor.
Yeah, I mean, Owner of a Lonely Heart was a riff and samples, and those samples were from a cassette that I had. Of course, we had the Fairlight in the studio, which was, like $1 million of sampling equipment that really no one knew what to do with it. It had cows mooing and cats mewing and sheep sounds, and actually all those sample sounds came from a cassette of James Brown.
The horn stabs
that were put into all the horn stabs came from a cassette that I had that we decided to download to the Fairlight.
Yeah, on the subject of keyboards and percussive keyboards at that, Hearts, you have a writing credit there, and there's quite an Asian styled lick there with a lot of percussion in it.
Right, yeah. Hearts was written. I wrote the verses and the instrumental bit in the middle, and Trevor wrote the chorus. Yeah, it became sort of a bone of contention with the singer later on in life. But he said that it was always his favorite song on the album. There was quite a lot of experimentation actually during that time, and it was a weird thing. We thought about 2 or 3 different producers to do it. I was working with Bert Langer on Pyromania for Def Leppard, reproducing guitar parts on keyboards, which was and I really wanted Mo to produce the album.
I'm sorry, Tony. Can I stop you there for just a second? Did you say you were working with Mutt Lange on Pyromania?
Right. Yeah. At the same time we were doing 90125. I was working with Mutt, and he basically had multi-track guitar parts for Pyromania, and he one of the great things about Mutt is that he has these amazing ideas, especially back then, and he thought putting analog synth, and that's why there are no keyboard credits on the album, underneath the guitars and multi-tracking them would make the guitars sound bigger. Sure. And so we spent laborious hours tracking Oberheim synths behind the guitar on Armenia. It was a great idea. And Mutt is just the greatest. He was so into, he wrote, and really that album was his baby. So there was no way we were going to get away from that album.
Well, Trevor Horn does cite Mutt Lange Intimidation as one of his inspirations for 90215. He had to make it wonderful, he said, because the pressure was on.
Yeah, it was. It's true.
well, good. You facilitated good pressure. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, but of course, Trevor was doing, amazing things with bands like ABC and Frankie, and so he was doing things that certainly Chris was very, very much into, doing a completely different album. And fortunately, all the parts came together in that time and in those 2 years to make that album.
Wow. So with your songwriting credits during that period, let's jump to Big Generator and Rhythm of Love. You're listed first. Do you want to take first credit on that piece?
Yeah, it was something that I in rehearsal I started and made demos of, and then Trevor and I made demos of. What I can't understand is, from all the great tracks on that album, that the other Yes Band now in 2018 play that track.
Yeah. Because it's that good. It's wild good.
I think there are better tracks on Big Generator. I actually like Big Generator album.
I do too.
There's some great tracks on it. I'm Running, and in Big Generator. They're great tracks. I don't know why they decided to keep on playing that, but that's up to, maybe John just likes singing it up.
Well, I think there are 3-part vocals that work. There's a bit of a conversation in the middle that kind of works with 3 vocal parts. It's nice. But talk about the vibe.
But it has
Shoot High.
Terrible. Shoot High. Yeah. It has a terrible title.
Yeah.
Rhythm of Love. What? I'm sorry, but what does that? No. I'm Running and Big Generator. They're very cool tracks.
Yeah, you're listed second on Big Generator. That's a really cool one there.
Yeah, Shoot High. Yeah, Alan and I were the instigators of Shoot High. So for the first time, I found the bootleg from the tour that we did, the Big Generator tour in Chile, I think. Have you seen that?
I have not. You can. You've watched a lot of stuff.
You've got to, it's on YouTube. You've got to check it out. It's really good, and it was never recorded, that show, really. And this bootleg from Chile is the only production that I found, and it's really good. And of course, Billy's on that tour too, which was the first time that I played with Billy.
Oh, sure. We all saw you in Nashville,
tour.
of all
Yep.
places, 1994.
Yep.
Yeah, even though we're in different parts of the country, the Palaver meets up when we can afford it. And we saw Yes in outdoors in Nashville, and you were there, and Billy was there. It was quite interesting.
Wow. And we had the chimneys.
I'll take your word for it. I don't remember the chimneys.
You don't remember the chimneys behind the drum?
I really don't. The only thing I remember about that stage was that little area that you kept Billy locked in at the back right.
Yeah. There was a little area at the back that Billy was not allowed to stray from, and there was a little area sort of behind me that John had this keyboard set up. Quite sure what happened there. And the show went on for quite a while after that, and it developed to all kinds of strange things. Naked girl dancing in a tube at the back of the stage. Was that
okay?
Was that in there? No.
I think I would have remembered that.
Yeah, that was a naked his cousin dancing in a tube at the back of the stage. It was quite something.
All right. Well, you mentioned Billy, which is a great segue to Circa. And somewhere around 2007, you reunited with Alan. So how is that energy, just making Circa happen for the first time?
Oh, Circa was great. I mean, Billy has so much energy; it's beyond belief. And he made everything happen. And he dragged me out of retirement. I had my Hammond set up in a storage locker, and he just kind of I couldn't even say no. He just dragged me out there, and we started writing and playing. And he's such a great bass player. I mean, he's just amazing to play with. And of course, he's a great drummer. Plays keyboards, guitar. It's a fantastic guitar player. He's just an amazing musician. And it just kind of developed from there. And then Alan, I guess, yes, when not doing anything at the time, and Alan joined the band, and the first album, and of course the video of the first gig when we did that whole Yes medley thing,
absolutely,
which was
yeah,
ridiculous 40 minutes of trying to remember what the hell to play.
Well, you mastered the Yes catalog in that period, and you played on Parallels recently on the Chris Squire tribute and Life in Yes, and so clearly you have roots in the material, like you said. You love the early material, even the stuff you didn't record.
Oh, I love those albums, and there was kind of talk of maybe of doing Relayer, which would have been great with Patrick, because Patrick in Philadelphia was quite something. He didn't really get to play and shine on that on the live shows those two nights, but it was great to it was great to see him again, and he's fantastic. It would be at some point maybe Relayer can be revisited with this band. It would be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
That'd be amazing.
It would be very cool.
And your recent contributions go beyond Billy's projects. You did Yours Is No Disgrace for Dave Kersner Yesterday and Today. So you're connected with kind of the young prog crowd. It's pretty cool.
Well, I guess. I don't know. Your Notice Is a Disgrace is a perennial that will keep on going. We are going to do No Experience Necessary coming up for the cruise, which I don't think has been performed by anyone. Well, I don't know, in a long time. Maybe you could tell me.
Well, friend of the Palaver, the tribute band that opened for you in Philadelphia, they dusted that one off and brought it out.
They did, yeah. Joey, yeah.
Yeah. Joey's a lot of fun.
Joey's a lot of fun. Good band, actually. Good band.
You guys, we were in attendance for most of that show, and you and the rest of Yes Official really seemed to be enjoying that as well. That was really kind of neat to see.
Well, we promised the night before. We promised in the bar of the hotel at about 1 o'clock in the morning that we would definitely come and see him. No problem. We would definitely. Until we found out that he was on at what time, 11 or something?
Yeah.
Something ridiculous. And
we were still eating brunch, yeah.
Yeah, they were dragging us out of bed, at 10 o'clock the next morning to go see Joey's band. And I got down there, and of course, Patrick was already there. He was raring to go. And so it was fun, and then the band turned up at about 12. Of course, I've known Joey since he was a little boy. It's to encourage him to do what he's doing is just amazing, really. I think he was 7 when I met him. Time. Yeah.
Yeah, that band's a lot of fun. I drove all the way from New Jersey to New York on Friday rush hour to see Total Mass Retain. It was worth every moment of the trip.
Of course, they're doing Yes material that's never played anymore. Nobody. Both bands. In fact, I think really that morning was sort of inspirational to Steve too, because a couple of weeks ago he phoned and said, "How do you fancy doing No Experience Necessary?" Ooh, okay.
Oh, wonderful.
Right. Well, that really wasn't his time.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, this is Tom in LA. I had a couple questions about the beginning years of Yes, but while we were in some of the later years, or not, maybe mid years, if you will, I just had a quick question about the Union tour. So many of you guys had said that it was such a fun tour. One of the most fun tours that you guys had ever been a part of. How was it like touring with everyone from Yes?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird experience in that it could have gone horribly wrong. Because of the way that it was set up, the way that the Union album came about, and the two factions that were, the West Coast Yes and the East Coast Yes, whatever it was called. And, it could have been kind of a disaster, really. And everyone kind of playing Bill on electronic drums and all the rest of it. And it actually was really enjoyable tour, and everyone just got on well with each other, and we Rick and I had previously never met, so that was weird. And Steve and Trevor had never met. Oh, actually, they had, right, with Asia, the beginning of Asia. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's always that urban myth that Trevor was supposed to be in Asia with them.
He was.
That's
yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Until he picked up the guitar. He was supposed to be the singer, not the guitar player. So it was. Maybe the hardest thing within the band was the two guitars, but everything else was fantastic, and the band after a while really did well. And considering that we were actually told at the beginning that it could have been a very iffy tour, in terms of people coming to see it, it was a major tour.
That's really good to hear, because having all of you guys together, like you said, things could have gone a different way, and it sounds like there was a really great vibe there.
Yeah, I mean, apart from Chris and John, the rest of the the instrumentalists in the band, in a lot of ways, the pressure was released. I mean, it can be it can be a pressure situation playing Yes music live on stage. There's a lot of stuff that goes down. Rick and I found a way, because I like to play Hammond, and he's got all the other stuff going, and we found a way of making it easy on each other, which was kind of nice for us, because it can be a little bit of a pressure situation, and it with 8 people up there, it kind of released that, which was good. Made for a happy tour.
Super. Tony, I was wondering if we can go back a few years, actually 1970, if we could, and there is a performance I wanted to ask you about. Yes performed at the Queen Elizabeth Hall in London in 1970, and you played with an orchestra. And I was wondering if you had any memories about that you'd like to share, because that was a pivotal performance for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really remember too much about it. I do remember that John, John's into orchestras and sounds and different, and he really was the one that was pushing that orchestra thing, and there was a lot about the band at the time, and I guess if you watch earlier videos of the band, Peter and I were not exactly into that stuff. I do remember the only really thing about the Queen Elizabeth Hall that I remember was that it was Queen Elizabeth Hall, which was like, not exactly the kind of places that we used to play in. And with the London, what was it anyway? The London Symphony Orchestra.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, I think it was. And the only thing that I really remember, no one really had an idea how to mic them up to record them.
I believe that.
It was, and I remember microphones hanging from the ceiling, which I guess is the way that they were recorded in a studio, but not live. So that's really all I remember about.
Tony, what are some of your best memories from that era of Yes?
The early days?
Yes.
I guess playing with a band that was, trying to play new music, and playing with Peter. Peter and I were a bit of a team back then. It was weird they wanted to get rid of us because it was a rock and roll band. We were a rock and roll team. It was definitely a time where we were trying to play new music. We only played real other people's songs and, with Yes arrangements.
Yeah, Tony, you and Peter Banks, I'm thinking of Every Day, Stephen Stills' song, but when Yes got a hold of it, it just rocked. You want to say anything about your interpretation of Stephen Stills?
I mean, it wasn't that. It's, the Beatles and West Side Story and Simon and Garfunkel and what's No Experience Necessary.
That's a state. Yeah.
Who was that? Who was the original singer? I've kind of forgotten.
Richie Havens?
Richie, who we performed with at a festival in England, and of course with the theme from Big Country, and most of Yes music was in interpreting the other people's music in a kind of a wild way. I remember we hadn't really played. We'd played to a few people. We played the Marquee and whatever, But we did this gig at a club called Blazes, and Sly and the Family Stone was supposed to play that night. And we lived around the corner. We all kind of lived together in, apartments just around the corner. And our manager was the manager of the Speakeasy. So it was all kind of, club incestuous thing going on. Anyway, Sly, in his inimitable way, didn't turn up. And, of course, everyone wanted to see Sly, so everyone was there. Paul McCartney was there. Mick Jagger was there. A lot of, people that we were certainly in awe of. And so the phone goes up, and we replaced Sly and the Family Stone. And, of course, we were only playing other people's tracks, West Side Story, Every Little Thing, Stephen Stills, and all those tracks. So I think that was almost the beginning of the notoriety, became Yes, if that makes sense.
Fabulous. Of course. Yeah. You're a cover band to the stars. It's a role to play.
Cover band, yeah, it just happened to be everyone wanted to see Sly, and they got us.
You were on a roll there, Tom.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Did you get all your questions?
I love hearing about those early years. I know you guys did Sweet Dreams during the Talk tour, and how was that? Doing a song that you did in the beginning and playing that in the later generation of Yes.
That has a connection to me because that was co-written by David Foster, who I had, the band after I left Yes with Badger. That was David Foster was my partner in crime in that band, and it brought back a lot of memories. Actually, it was a very early collaboration between John and David Foster, which was the Time and Award, Sweet Dreams.
There's a story that's told, Tony, that after you guys recorded Time and a Word, that the record label wasn't totally happy with it. They wanted a little bit more of a commercial sound. And what is an incredible story, if you look at the Yes album, Yours Is No Disgrace and Starship Trooper are longer songs, and that you really morphed into the progressive rock Yes that we hear today. I'm wondering, is that even true? Was there any sort of conversation with the record label after Time and a Word? And if it is, when you guys were writing a song like Yours Is No Disgrace, were you having commercial sensibilities in mind, or is it just something you guys just let go?
Yeah, there were no commercial sensibilities going on at all there. We were locked in the little country house down in Devon that became Steve's house and still is. Steve still lives there, but I think there was an attempt at there was a certain I don't want to put down or anything, but there was a certain tweeness in those kind of tracks. We were doing other people's songs in a very sort of out there sort of rock and roll, sort of jazzy, whatever way. But there was certain tweeness about Sweet Dream, Time and a Word, and I can't really remember anything else. But there was probably an effort when we got into rehearsing the Yes album I don't even remember the progressive music or the progressive term was even used then, but we were influenced by Emerson and Gentle Giant and other bands that were sort of music was pretty tough, actually. Yeah.
Super. Well, Tony, we know we're getting about on the hour here. I know you have to get going. Joe and Ken, is there anything else you wanted to chat about?
Well, absolutely. The Shine on Hollywood article. So, Tony, any Palaver listeners, we want to direct them to this article because it looks like it turned out very well. Are you happy with it?
I haven't read it.
Well, you consume several pages in Shine on Hollywood magazine, and I feel that I think J.C. Gaffer did a good job.
I heard that it was quite revealing, and they did a fantastic job with it. Yeah. You know, it was sort of a surprise to me, and it was something my lovely wife Daniela, who works for the magazine, sprang on me, and I was only too happy to do it. But you have to remember that I'm sort of, except for this year, I've been out of any kind of spotlight or, you know, connection with guests or being on the road or anything. You know, my life is not really that anymore. To be thrust into that kind of expose was kind of Arnold Garcia, who owns the magazine, an amazing job. I mean, the timeline of the band that he worked so hard on it is amazing. Of all the different people that have been in the band.
Yeah, the timeline, it looks beautiful too. So yeah, it's recommended.
Yeah. It's a great magazine. They did a great job, and I have to thank Daniela for putting all of that together. She did an amazing, especially at the time that she did it. We are moving different states, so it was not an easy thing for her to put together.
Oh, okay. Best of luck in your move. Thank you for making time for us while you've got that chaos going on.
So Tony, you know, before we finish up here, and I do obviously want to echo the sentiments and just express tremendous gratitude for you taking time out of your schedule to talk to us, as well as thank you obviously for all of the wonderful listening moments that you provided us throughout our lives. But I wanted to give you the opportunity. Is there anything that, you know, any particular project or anything that you have going on right now that you might want to let our listeners know about, that we can, you know, point them in whatever direction you'd like?
Well, pretty much this year, you know, I was only really going to be part of this Yes thing, because it was the 50th anniversary. But apparently they liked it so much they've asked me back.
Awesome.
Yay!
Super.
So,
great news.
Good job.
So I will be pretty much doing the same thing. I think we're performing the entire Yes album in Japan, only in Japan. But I think the rest of the year in Europe and in America, we're going to be doing some different tracks, and so it looks like I'm going to be back on the road with the Yes Boys again, which is always fun. And that we had such a great time this year that it's going to be great.
And it looks like Palaver is then going to Japan because we want to go. Pack your bags, gentlemen.
Yeah, pack your bags. And also for my own thing, you know, my a project that has been very dear to my heart, which is out in a particular video form, because I got into doing video, was a piece of music that I did for 9/11, and called "The End of Innocence," and it's all about that day. The video is actually out on YouTube, but I'm going to release the music in the next year, probably by next September. So kind of excited that that's going to be actually an album. It's pretty cool.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
we'll have to link that on the show notes for this.
Yep. End of Innocence. It's on YouTube. End of Innocence, and It's a little primitive in its because it was kind of the beginning 5 years ago of my editing exploits, but it goes through the day of 9/11, which is always important.
Absolutely, it's one thing I'll never ever forget.
Yeah. So
right
there you go. That's the next year.
That Tony, that is exciting, and I am on the edge of my seat. I can't wait to see to figure out what city that I will be traveling to see you guys with my buddies here. That's going to be great. Okay.
In the summer, come to Philadelphia. That's always the.
It is the best place to see. Yes, absolutely.
It is. Yeah.
Indeed.
Hey,
Yes.
I'll see you there. Please introduce yourself to me. Come back and we will chat.
Absolutely, Tony.
We will definitely take you up on that, because this is what we do. We talk progressive rock, and we love to get together and talk late in the night about a show that we just saw. So getting the opportunity to sit down with you in person would be absolutely fantastic.
That sounds fun.
Tony.
All right, guys. Thank you.
I can't
Thank you very much.
You have a great day.
Okay. Thanks, guys. You go. Thank you.
Bye. We hope you've enjoyed this very special episode of Progressive Palaver. I can't express enough my awe and my gratitude at being able to spend some time speaking with Tony Kaye about his time in Yes and all of his experiences throughout the years. It was truly inspiring being able to speak with him and ask him some of the questions that we had on our minds that came up throughout our consideration of his body of work. It was really, really great to hear about his project, The End of Innocence, and I very much look forward to that, moving ahead, as well as looking back on the conversation, just some of the insights he was able to provide about the beginning of Yes and their brand of progressive rock, the rebirth of Yes in the early 80s, and all of that entailed. For me personally, the whole idea about him, playing a role in Def Leppard Pyromania, it's stories like that just people like Tony have a broad impact, and you don't always know where it is. But that was very, very impressive. And I was very excited to hear that Tony's going to be joining Yes Official on the road in 2019. So I very much look forward to seeing that. And hopefully we will get a chance to catch up with him when they're in Philadelphia. So we certainly look forward to any feedback you may have regarding this interview or any other episodes that we have. So please reach out to us through all of the normal channels. And that would be Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We are at ProgPala on all of those, or search for Progressive Palaver, or you can email us. Our email address is progpala@gmail.com. Progressive Palaver is, as always, available for download and subscription through both Apple and Google, and hopefully through Spotify by the time you hear this. And we are, as always, hosted on SoundCloud. So until next time, thank you for listening.